injured teammate, or I should surgically removed appendix teammate, he will start shotgun on the field. Green flag waves here at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. A critical turn.
That was Jay Howard in that white car sneaking down the inside of Raphael and kind of caught Raphael off guard and said, whoa, and backed off. But everybody is through turn one cleanly. That's what needed to happen. And they need to sort themselves out through this whole first lap. Unlike
a year ago where turn one took out a couple of contenders and Jaime Camara and Jeff Simmons, this year they found it to make it through turn one.
Yep. And now Raphael is back in front of Jay. So when they went through turn three and went out of our camera there, Raphael got ahead of Jay Howard. So we don't know. That obviously all happened cleanly, but those guys, they're going to race hard. But remember, right now, these guys got to get in a rhythm. They got to be patient, get their tires up to temperature, manage the tires. When I say manage your tires, you don't want to beat them up at the very beginning. You want to save them for the end.
As they head through the kink and head up toward turn 10, we'll show you that they were lucky to dodge a bullet on that lap one on turn one as the green flag waves.
Watch the left of your screen. There's Jay Howard coming all the way to the inside of the track, the white car, and now Raphael starts to turn and he says, whoa, there's a car there. He did a great job to avoid that, and there was Alex Lloyd was right behind them along with Jeff Simmons. Exciting start.
Robbie Alex did a nice job of backing out and showing a veteran move for a rookie driver to be able to not to have an incident there in turn one.
No, they did a good job to sort themselves out there.
Car number 41 is your leader. That, of course, is Rafael Matos, making his very first start to Brazilian out of Belo Horizonte, Brazil, driving for Jim Guthrie. Yes, that is the same Jim Guthrie, who was a 1997 Indy Racing League Rookie of the Year. And Jim tabbed Matos, who was the Star Mazda champion a year ago, winning the first 4 events in that Star Mazda series. And he'd like to come here full-time. He's going to run some lesser series in the year, looking for sponsorship. But if he could, he would run full-time here in the Indy Pro Series.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you said, he is a championship driver. He won the Star Mazda championship last year. And if you notice, he's got a black nose on the front of his car. On practice the other day, they kind of had a little tangle with the wall, so they've done a good job to get that car back up and running, and his confidence is obviously very strong.
Here's a battle we'll be watching. Jeff Simmons, a little bit of a wobble out of the Ken Hardley machine, the Team ISI effort. That's the 24 car of Simmons coming at you in the middle of your screen. And behind him, getting a little bit of pressure from the rookie driver, Alex Lloyd. And a lot of people very, very high on 21-year-old Alex Lloyd, who comes from Great Britain and says this kid was impressive in his first laps last week at Homestead in the test on Tuesday.
No, I think that says a lot about a driver's ability. The first time he got in one of these cars was for an hour last week. And to be as competitive as he is on this tough street circuit with this level of competition, it says that guy is a great young driver. And in 03, he won the McLaren Autosport Rookie of the Year award, or Driver of the Year award. And that is a very high honor to receive that. So other people recognize his talent as well.
Speaking of talented youth, I mean, we've got it all over this series. 18-year-old Jonathan Klein from Long Grove, Illinois, driving with the Klein Tools onboard camera. He was running second last week at Homestead with just 14 laps to go when an incident between he and Chris Festa took both those cars out and robbed him of a good top 3 finish.
Yeah, Jonathan's been very impressive in the race car. He's run very well this weekend as well. Watching his onboard camera as we did back at Homestead, he had a very good handling car there. I was sorry to not see him finish that race out, but I've been very impressed with talking to him and listening to his feedback and his old mental approach and calm mental approach to what he's doing here in the Pro Series as a rookie.
Jonathan Klein, another one of those Star Mazda veterans coming on to run full-time here in the Indy Pro Series. This series, 5 years old, began 5 years ago by Tony George as the official stepping stone to give drivers a way to get some open wheel experience on the same racetracks as their higher horsepower big brothers, the Indy cars, run, to be able to make that next step. And a number of drivers have made the step up to IndyCar after running a year or two here in this series. Demanding 1.8-mile, 14-turn temporary street circuit on the gorgeous edge of Tampa Bay, with the palm trees lining this back straightaway. As they head up 40 laps, we have 3 complete. And Rafael Matos, Howard, Simmons, Lloyd, and Clyde are the top 5. And back at the Grand Prix of St. Petersburg Indy Pro Series, first race of a doubleheader weekend here, first time ever in Indy Pro Series competition. And Rafael Matos, a 24-year-old Brazilian, his very first start, is putting on a clinic here on this very tough street course.
Yeah, he sure is. Rafael's done a good job. And practice sessions, 2 of the 3 practice sessions, he was on top of the charts. So obviously he's getting very comfortable in that race car, and the whole Guthrie operation there is pretty happy with that, and they like what they're hearing from Raphael and vice versa.
And a lot of promising young drivers and road racers in this series, including this young man. And boy, what an impressive run he had last week. Bobby Wilson, 24 years of age, out of Ocala, Florida. He's a driving instructor at the Ocala Grand Prix. He started 11th last week and moved his way steadily up to log a top 5 finish. Only his 4th ever start in Indy Pro Series competition.
Yeah, Bobby's a very talented race car driver. In 2004, he was the U.S. Formula Ford Z-Tech champion. And in his debut in the Pro Series last year, he started on the front row out at Infineon Speedway. So, very talented driver. And Ocala Grand Prix, what those guys do is that is a go-karting school, if you will, for the guys that are really serious about where they want to take their racing.
And Bobby, of course, an instructor there. Now, we told you that a lot of these drivers come here for one reason, to get open wheel experience and be able to get noticed by an IndyCar owner. And eventually they want to make the jump to IndyCar racing. A number of drivers have done that over the years. I know have been able to make that jump rather successfully up the ladder. With more on that, let's check in with Nicole Mansky.
He is one of those drivers that made the jump. He drove in the Indy Pro Series in 2002 and 2003. First of all, Ed, you were involved in that horrific crash last weekend involving Paul Dana. How are you?
I'm doing fine. You know, it was a very bad day for motorsports and for the IRL with what happened with Paul, but I'm fine and feel very fortunate to be out here in St. Pete spectating.
You're not in the car this week, but you will be in the car for testing in Indianapolis in just a week.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be back in the car Wednesday. I mean, I feel fine. I feel like I could have went this weekend, but just precautionary because of the bruising on my lungs, just to keep me out of it. So I'll be back Wednesday.
Now, you were in the Pro Series in 2002 and 2003, and they didn't race on the streets back then.
Yeah, I wished it when I was in the Pro Series, we would have been doing road racing and street racing. It would have been a big help for me, more than it already was, getting me ready for the Indy cars and road racing. So this was my first IndyCar race ever on a road course last year. So it would have been nice to have the Pro Series run road courses when I was in those cars.
Ed Carpenter watching, maybe who he'll be competing against in years to come.
Thank you to Cole. Ed Carpenter, one of 8 drivers that have made the jump to IndyCar racing after the brief 4-year history of the Indy Pro Series. And while you were talking to Ed a moment ago, we are under yellow here on the streets of St. Pete. This incident exiting turn 12.
Yeah, and that's Marty Roth, who's just spinning in front of the 2nd and 3rd place car of Jay Howard and Jeff Simmons. He spins across, hits the other side of the track. We're hearing there was reports of a little bit of oil on the track from John Herb's gearbox, who is now retired from the race. So maybe that's what caused that.
We are back ready for the restart. Lap 26 of 40 here on the beautiful sunny skies in St. Petersburg, Florida. And Rafael Matos, who has led from the start, leads him down, but get the challenge on the inside from Jay Howard.
Yeah, and Jay Howard timed that restart beautifully. I mean, just as they were crossing start-finish line, he was already popping. He's got that pass done cleanly on Rafael. Now let's look. Simmons was challenging just behind there, and Jeff Simmons is still in the 3rd spot, followed by I believe that right there with that no shades, that's Nick Bussell in the red and black car driving for Eddie Cheever. There's your battle right there for 3rd. Those guys are bunched up.
Yeah, it is Simmons, Bussell, and then the youngster Klein, the 18-year-old, Jonathan Klein, as they run in 3rd, 4th, and 5th spot behind Howard and Matos. What a great run by Jay Howard to get that jump on the restart there and take the lead.
Yeah, I think, you know, just if you have one car by themselves, Rafael Matos, he is the quickest car on this racetrack by himself. So he will be able to hunt down Jay Howard. Now, getting by him, that's another story.
Speaking of Rafael Matos, let's check in with Nicole, who's standing by at his pit.
Matos says he's having some issues with his radio. He wasn't completely sure if it was green or not. This is his first race in the Indy Pro Series that went green on the track, and Matos simply wasn't ready.
Thank you very much, Nicole. So that can happen with a driver. First time you're in the car, first time you're in the series, you weren't really sure what was going to happen, and obviously he didn't get on the throttle quick enough, and he was a sitting duck for Jay Howard.
Yeah, and Jay, in turn, timed it perfectly, and Rafael just had a little bit of indecision, and that's the difference on the racetrack. But as we were just saying, I do think Rafael has a faster car, so I think he'll be able to close back up on Jay It'll just be a matter of whether he can get by. In the third place back there in the red and white car, we see Jeff Simmons. I mean, Jeff Simmons, he is a veteran. He knows how to manage his race car and his tires. And the last 5 laps of this race, I look for him to be real strong. And I was talking with Ken Hardley the other day, and they're excited. They got a new sponsor on their car this weekend, J-Med Lab Supply. So that's a good plug for Ken Hardley and crew. Looking at Jeff Simmons there on our camera.
And a lot of speculation swirling around Jeff Simmons, a 2-time Barber Pro Series champion after his 6th career win at Homestead, that he might be getting a shot at running IndyCar. He's already run a couple of IndyCar events. Jumps in the brakes right there. You saw the brake smoke as he lit him up there. And going into the corner now, one of the young drivers you mentioned that we would watch today was 21-year-old Alex Lloyd, and he made an unscheduled pit stop. For more on his pit stop, let's check in once again with Nicole Mansky.
Well, his crew says he ran over an end fin, and they came in and made that unscheduled pit stop to change his nose cone. There's just a little bit of damage, but enough to cause some problems for on this track. He also had some problems with the right front tire. They changed that. They think it was going down, also from the same thing, running over debris on the track.
All right, thank you, Nicole. He, of course, driving Gary Peterson and the EFS Racing Machine. And this young man wants to run the whole series, and I think will definitely be heard from before the year is out. Laps are clicking away here. 12 laps to go in the first of 2 races, the doubleheader weekend for the Indy Pro Series cars. And our leader is Jay Howard back. Under yellow here on the streets of St. Pete, an incident just a moment ago involving the 9 car of Bobby Wilson and the 1 of Jeff Dodge.
Yeah, and here we are on board with Bobby Wilson going into turn 8. He's just looking on the inside. I don't think Jeff Dodge, unfortunately, didn't even know Bobby was trying to poke his nose in there. The two got together, and that's unfortunate.
Laps winding down. It should be 4 to go now. A moment ago, by the way, Jay Howard was passed by Rafael Matos and Jeff Simmons. So it's Matos, Simmons, then Howard, Bussell, and Jonathan Klein, the top 5. Festa, Van Blanker, Matthew Hamilton, Bobby Wilson, and Alex Lloyd rounding out the top 10 with 5 laps to go here as we get set to go back green flag racing on the streets of St. Pete.
Yeah, and Jeff Simmons, he's going to do everything he can right now. Look at Rafael's protecting the inside. He says, nobody's going to go by me on the inside of this track. Jeff tries to set up to get a run through there. He does!
He made the pass. Simmons did it last week with 2 laps to go. He made the pass on the white flag lap. He only led 3 laps all weekend at Homestead, and they were 2 of the last 3, and he won the race.
Yeah, now it's important for Jeff to try and gap Rafael as much as he can, because I think Rafael, as I said earlier, has got a faster car, so he will be able to close up a little bit on Jeff. But that was a beautiful snooker at the start of that. Matos was protecting the inside. Jeff stayed high to get a little better run through that corner, and sure enough, he got the pass done.
29-year-old Jeff Simmons won 4 races a year ago. He's won the season opener at Homestead, Miami last week, and is trying to pull off the win after so much disappointment here a year ago. He was taken out on the very first lap on the start of the race after an incident with Jaime Camara. Let's take a look at that pass again on the restart here, exiting turn 1.
There they go. Rafael just goes wide a little bit, trying to protect the line. Jeff sets up, and off he is as they go through turn 3.
3 laps to go around this 1.8-mile, 14-turn street course, temporary street course right along Tampa Bay here. Gorgeous setting in St. Petersburg, Florida.
So do you think, Doc, right now any of these drivers are thinking about where they finish this race is how they start tomorrow, except the top 6 invert? Do you think about that? I think you take what you can, but do you think any of them thinking about that?
Well, you got to think a little bit about it. Doubleheader racing weekend history being made in the Indy Pro Series, and what a job the Rafael Matos has done driving in the Car Crafters machine owned by Jim Guthrie. Speaking of Jim Guthrie, he's standing by with our Nicole Mansky. Nicole?
Well, you're making one heck of a run at it in just your 2nd Indy Pro Series start, but your driver, Rafael Matos, needing a little coaching on his restarts. Do you think that that's what got him over there on that restart with Jeff Simmons?
Well, you know, he understands the restart, but looks like he got him. He got him back. Oh, my goodness. This day's been full of ups and downs. You know, after 1, you'd think he'd learn. After 2, I know he did. Jim, he'll figure it out now.
In just 2 Indy Pro starts, obviously Jim Guthrie is very excited.
All right, Nicole, Jim Guthrie, a racer himself, the 1997 IRL IndyCar Rookie of the Year, won at Phoenix and only his 6th career start. Just watched his driver, great timing, Nicole, watched his driver make the pass. He heard the screaming in the background from his pits, and now we've had 2 passes for the lead in 2 laps, and we still have about a lap and a half to go. Ken Simmons, Real Matos back in.
Oh, I think that's going to be tough. It really is. Jeff had gotten just a little bit wide at turn 14, which leads onto the front straightaway, and that opened the door for Raphael to get through and put his nose in there, and he did that, and I think he's going to pull away a little bit there. Now I think the battle is what's Jay Howard thinking? Can I get up there on Jeff Simmons?
I will show you again up in turns 13 and 14. Simmons, right side of your screen, is what you said, Robbie. He gets real deep in that corner.
Yeah, he was trying to brake, obviously, at the last possible minute. He missed his brake point just a little bit and pushed up wide. That opened the door for Raphael to put his nose down in there and got it done.
White flag, 1 lap remaining in the first of 2 events on a doubleheader weekend. History-making weekend for the Indy Pro Series here under the gorgeous Florida sun and the streets of St. Petersburg. 24-year-old Rafael Matos from Belo Horizonte, Brazil. How many talented Brazilian drivers have we seen come to IndyCar in the last few years? Tony Kanaan, Helio Castro Neves, Vitor Meira, just to name a few. And now add the name Rafael Matos. Remember, a year ago, we saw a young rookie driver emerge here. In his very first race, he sat on the pole and won it, leading 22 laps. His name, Marco Andretti. Today, Rafael Matos from Brazil, driving for Jim Guthrie. A new driver, driving for a veteran with an IndyCar experience. Guthrie Racing has 1 turn to make to take the checkered flag. Out of turn 14, here he comes, and the double checkered flags wave. What a day for Rafael Matos, winning his very first race in Indy Pro Series competition. Jeff Simmons finishes second. Howard, Bussell, and Klein running at the top 5. And there's Jim Guthrie waving at his driver as they come by. So the first of 2 events is complete here. And we have another first-time winner in Indy Pro Series competition. We'll hear from Rafael Matos when we come back. And back at St. Petersburg with 2 laps to go. Here's how it all swapped up here. Jeff Simmons was the leader entering the final corner. He slips deep, and Rafael Matos just able to get by.
Yep, and look at Rafael cleanly get by, and there you have it.
Our final results, Matos, Simmons, Jay Howard, Nick Bussell, and Jonathan Klein, the top 5. Unofficially, of course, until the final scoring rundown and post-race inspections. We head down to victory lane where Nicole is standing by with our first-time winner.
Matos, in just his first Indy Pro Series start, gets a win for his team in just the team's 2nd Pro Series start. Congratulations. Talk about that pass there and just 2 laps to go.
Well, I made a mistake on the restart. I tried to be a little bit too tight on the inside, protecting the line. I had the car step out really big, and I couldn't catch, and Jeff passed me. Fortunately, he made a mistake on the last corner, leading the straightaway, so I passed him, and I just tried to be consistent in the last 2 laps and bring the car on 4 wheels and bring the victory home.
You were not about to make the same mistake twice, were you?
No, I was just so focused the last 2 laps, and I want this victory really bad.
All right, thank you very much, Nicole. And if you like what you just saw, 40 laps of racing action, Indy Pro Series style, well, we're going to line them up and do it all over again. History-making day here in St. Petersburg on the streets of St. Pete. 2nd annual Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. And a 24-year-old Brazilian goes to victory lane in his very first race. When we come back, we'll line them up, invert the top 6, and race again in the streets of St. Pete. So stay tuned. Back in just a moment.